52. Hey, are you excited? Are you just on tiptoes? You really excited? Because I'm pretty excited about something that's coming up. Anybody guess what it is? No? That's a good. It's a good guess. Anybody else want to guess why I'm so fired up?
You got out of bed?
Baseball! That's right. Baseball season. Way to go, Robin. Okay. Hey, we got any Cardinals fans here? Because we're in kind of in Cardinal country. Nobody raised their hand. Okay. Okay, we have Ken. Anybody else want to identify themselves? I know the Chiefs were all about the Chiefs. But now, the Cardinals. We're in Cardinals country. I'm more of a Texas Rangers fan myself. That's where I grew up. I kind of think that you go when you're a fan of the team that you grew up, like babysitting with your dad and all that kind of stuff. And so, Wayne?
Yes, sir.
You got a baseball team, or you just?
Well, that brought back memories. I remember being
Thanks, Wayne. Is anybody else? St. Louis Cardinals. 180 degrees.
Boring and you get a match.
What second? It was what?
It was very exciting.
It was very exciting.
I woke up and there I was.
And there you were. Anybody else like have a baseball team that they feel connected to? Cubs. Okay, Cubs. And see, so John, how did you and the Cubs get together? It just happened? What happened?
I started watching them when I was 10 years old and played BGN. They came on during the days.
Yeah.
They were lovely losers, and then they got really good.
Yeah, I have a friend who grew up watching named Jeffrey. He grew up watching the Atlanta Braves. I guess that was the game the games that you could get around here when you watch the Braves. So he kind of liked that. Well, can I get to the point? You know, I've got an interesting job because everybody wants me to start, and then everybody wants me to stop. I'll just take my time. There is a point to this, and let's suppose that you were playing on the St. Louis Cardinals baseball team. And what do you think your goal would be for the year?
To get off the bench one night.
That would be your goal for the year. Okay.
You're looking to win the World Series.
Yes. Right. Because that's probably why you're off the bench. What's your goal, Wayne? Well, I was going to try to get off the bench this season. No, you've got professional baseball players. I think generally all believe that their teams, they're at the beginning of the year, that's their goal. They're headed to win the World Series. I got to hear Pat Summit, coach of the Lady Volunteers, one of the greatest basketball coaches, women's basketball, I guess, ever. She'd gather her team together, and she'd ask the question, where do you all want to win this? I mean, what is your goal this year? And what would Coach Summit's team say back to her?
World Series.
Well, the World Series of basketball. But I mean, you know, you're on Coach Summit's team. What a great name for a coach too, Summit. Just amazing. Okay, so yeah, she'd ask the players, "What was your goal?" And she would say, "Because I cannot coach you to a goal that you don't have for yourself." And she said that a lot of basketball is conditioning, apparently, and that the players will get tired of the conditioning. And she'd say, do you all want to win the national championship? And then she would say, you're not running like you want to win the national championship, because there will be times when they're going to get tired, they're going to get discouraged. She's going to say, remember what our goal is. Remember what you told me that you want to do. Heard of it? I think it was John Maxwell. He's kind of a leadership guy. He said one time that you cannot manage a decision you have not made. You cannot manage a decision that you have not made. I can put it this way. You cannot strive towards a dream that you do not have. It's just not there, so guess what you're not striving for? The dream. Okay, so the job of leadership is then to help people to have those dreams, to inspire them to dream big dreams, to think big thoughts. Because what happens is life can kind of pull you down. You just get in the rut, in the routine. You're just trying to make it through the day. You stop dreaming big dreams. So we need to do things to kind of expand our thinking. And I want to share with you a passage I think is really cool. Mark 6, 45 to 52. And it starts like this. It says, so what had happened was there had just been the feeding of the 5,000, which is 5,000 plus women and children, so it's probably more like 10,000 or more. And so that's an incredible miracle that's just happened right in front of the disciples. And it said that Jesus was trying to get some time by himself, so he went across the lake. And when he got across the lake, who was waiting for him? The crowds. And so where he healed them all. And then he decided to send his disciples back across the lake. And then he dismissed the crowds. We'll see. It says, immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to Bethsaida. I started imagining it going like, yep, get in the boat, and you just go over there. And they're like, and I imagine that Jesus did a lot of explaining. Get in the boat and go. I imagine Ken Allen, he's works with a lot of crews, and you just tell them what you need to do. You don't explain everything. Just right? Ken does not do a lot of explaining. Amen, brother. Okay, so Jesus, he's just commanding his disciples. He's not ordering them around. He says he made his disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to Bethsaida while he dismissed the crowds. Like, I'm going to get rid of all these people. You just get in the boat and you head out across the lake and go to Bethsaida. Then, after leaving them, he went up on the mountainside to pray. And that's an interesting thing about Jesus. He took time. You wouldn't think that Jesus would have to take time by himself, but apparently he did, to kind of get himself recentered. We're having a meditation class that's meeting on Wednesday nights. And some people go to that class because they find it hard during the course of their life to just sort of sit still for like 30 minutes. It's hard to sit still for 30 minutes, isn't it? And just to let everything kind of clear away and just kind of let yourself get in touch with what's most important. So that's what I think Jesus was doing. Surrounded by all these crowds of people, surrounded by his disciples, like, well, okay, get in the boat, go on the other side. I need some time alone. So he goes up on the mountainside to pray. Later that night, the boat was in the middle of the lake, and he was alone on the land. It says he saw the disciples straining at the oars because the wind was against them. Shortly before dawn, he went out to them, walking on the lake. Okay, so here's the picture. He's been up on the mountain, he's been praying. He looks at it, sees his disciples straining. So, what did we imagine if you didn't know how the story goes? What would you imagine? What would you imagine would be Jesus' thoughts? They're my disciples, they're out there, they're straining. What does he think? Thank you, Robin. Maybe I should help them. They look like they're struggling. And so Jesus is a nice person. So, of course, what he would be thinking is, I want to go out there and help them so they can get all the way across the lake because I'm concerned about them. You would think that is what Jesus is thinking. But I don't think it was. He's also a teacher. But, okay. So, the last half of verse 48 says, verse 48. He saw the disciples straining at the oars because the wind was against them. Shortly before dawn, he went out to them walking on the lake. And what is the next sentence? What is the next phrase or sentence that you have in your Bible? Bibles translate this differently. What does yours say? He was about to pass by them. Anybody else have something different? He intended to pass by them. Marge says, how do we know? I can see you, Marge. Okay. Anybody else have a different? Yes, Libby? He acted as if he meant to pass by them. So, different interpretations. Some say he was about to pass by them. Others say he intended to go past them. He meant to pass by them. was wishing to pass by them, would have passed by them, was going to pass by them. So the idea is that they're about, they're almost, they're more than halfway across, right? The middle of the lake, he's alone, and then he saw disciples straining at the oars. Shortly before dawn, he went out to them. So this is like right before the sun's coming up. He goes out to them, and it says that his intention was to go by them, was to pass by them. Now, why? As good as baseball, talking about baseball, because Robin just blew a bubble.
That's a great man.
Okay, so what's going on there? Why didn't he go out there and just say, "Oh, hey guys, I'm here. Everything's fine. Let me get these waves calmed down. Let me take care of you." Why was he going to walk by them? Okay, well, it is true that there are different interpretations of this, but I think the one that sort of came to me, so it must be right, is that he was trying to show them what's possible. They were out there stranded against, who's just like, yeah, stuff, dude. So the idea was, see, they had just thought it was going to be impossible to feed all those people. And so he said, "Okay, give me what you got." We did the prayer, and then they handed it all out, and there was like all that food. So there was a lesson there about doing the, quote, impossible. And then they're straining against the wind and the waves, having trouble getting across, and he's just like, "Well, let me show you what faith can do." They got it. So I think that's what he was doing. He was showing them what's possible. I was just thinking about Tiger Woods too. Let me just show you what can happen with an 8-iron. Or something like that, just to get them kind of thinking about the possibilities here. But what happens is that instead of being inspired, they get completely freaked out. They see this figure walking upon the water. They think we'll read about this in a second, they think it's a ghost. They shriek in terror. And then Jesus is like, "Oh, no, okay." And he has to go and help them out. That's what it says. It says, verse 49, "But when they saw him walking on the lake, they thought he was a ghost. They cried out because they saw him and were terrified." They didn't cry out like, "Hey, Jesus, hey, can you help us?" They were like terrified that they had seen a ghost. Anybody ever seen a ghost? Maybe if you have seen one, you wouldn't tell about it. Anybody ever gotten creeps real bad? So you've gotten the creeps before, Jim? Okay. Well, I don't know. I've gotten the creeps before. Yeah, we've got a story about something. It's not like we didn't see anything, but some weird stuff happened. But have you ever had that sort of like, I'll call it like a preternatural feeling? The old hair on the back of your neck stands up. I can tell this story because my mother's not here. But when I was a kid, we had a 2-story house. At the end of the night, it was my job to turn out the lights upstairs. So I would turn out the lights. I would run down the stairs as fast as I possibly could because you know, anyway, they were creeped out. They were scared out of their minds. And then Jesus says to them, immediately he spoke to them. I think it's nice that he immediately spoke to them once they got freaked out. He didn't just let them hang. Immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." Then, verse 51 says, "Then he climbed into the boat with them, and the wind died down, and they were completely amazed." Okay. Notice it says that they weren't just amazed. They were completely amazed. it's kind of like, we had no idea you could do something like that. They had just been with him when he did this amazing miracle of multiplying the loaves and the fish. And now they're completely amazed that he can do this. And then the gospel writer Mark adds this, and this is what I wanted us to all think about today. It said, for they had not understood about the loaves. Their hearts were hardened. So, why were they completely amazed? They saw Jesus multiply the loaves and the fish, and you know what they thought? Cool, Jesus can multiply food. They did not draw a larger lesson. What is the larger lesson? That he is the Lord of all creation. That he is the Lord of all. He is the King of kings. But they didn't understand about the loaves, and so their hearts were hardened. Okay, so that leads to a question for us. Do we understand the loaves? And are our hearts hardened? And so I wondered about the answer to this question. I looked it up and I found it. You know what the answer is? Yes and no. In a way, it's kind of both. We aren't hardened completely. We understand the loaves a little bit because as a church, we're doing new things. We are trying new things. We're continuing to want to dream about our future. Churches that don't believe that there's a future for them don't have dreams about a future for them. And so we're in the business of dreaming about a future for our church where we're more out in the community, more involved with people who are needing help, getting to know those people. You know, you're probably not going to hit something that you're not shooting. You're probably not going to hit a hard target that you're not shooting at. You're probably not going to fulfill a dream that you're not having. Because dreams call us forward to a future that's hard for us to imagine that we could ever actually be that way. But what can happen is that there's this phrase, ring a bell with you, life can kind of beat it out of you. You can kind of you sort of get in a routine, and you just get in a rut, and then that's all you can imagine. That's all you're doing. And sometimes, if you learn that something, you can think that you've learned that something doesn't work. Once you learn that something doesn't work, you don't need to try it anymore. Why? Because you know it doesn't work. Like, this can happen in ministry. You try something once and it doesn't work. You try it again and it doesn't work. And then do you try it again? No. You don't try it again because why? It doesn't work. And then somebody new comes to church and they say, hey, have you ever thought about this? And you say, yeah, we tried that, yet it doesn't work. And so it can happen that way. You can get kind of hardened. You can say it's hard for you to imagine that something could be different. So anyway, so we are trying to, in this church, you might say we're trying to understand the loaf and the fishes. We're trying to understand, trying for our hearts to be open to a possible new future. And that's what this Hope Partnership process is. Now, okay, so here's what they did. They came and they talked to us about the importance of just getting out in the community and not just ministering to people, but ministering with people. So we're out in the community, we're not just saying, here's some stuff. Good luck. We're actually starting to tell your story. We're actually starting to get to meet these people. And we talked about, there's a lot of needs in the community. A lot of people are struggling in different ways. And we came up with turns out there's two areas that the people that came were real interested in. Anything, something to do with children. It's like they really want, the people in our church really feel for children. And if a child is in a bad way, is in a bad shape, we really want to help that child. That came through loud and strong. And then the other thing that came through was there were a lot of situations where people could use some help that involved transportation. So, for instance, one of the things that we were concerned about was veterans. And do you know what? Veterans, one of the main things that veterans need? Transportation. Charlene has just kind of been her own ministry of transporting veterans. You probably transport, I don't know, how many veterans have you transported? There's 12 veterans, but it seems like every week you're taking a veteran somewhere.
The problem is that they have a veterans bus, and they'll collect people at certain points to take to the, say, Fayetteville or Little.
They have a veterans bus.
And you have, if your appointment's at 4 in the afternoon, well, you have to be there at 5 in the morning to get on the bus because everybody's on that bus.
Because everybody's
and
on the
everybody
bus.
has to wait. And a lot of times then they have other things that they have to get, their medications, things like that, and the bus doesn't take care of it.
And the bus will help with that. So Charlene found a ministry just helping with transportation and veterans. So let's give Charlene a little bit. She doesn't do it for that. She doesn't do it for that, but it's fun to encourage you anyway. So I got to thinking about transportation and children. I was thinking about that, and I was leaving church the Sunday after we had this big meeting, and I looked over and I saw Cindy Adler's Jeep at her place, and she was the former youth director, but has now been working for DHS, Department of Human Services, for 4 years. And it came to me, maybe I'll call her. So I called Cindy and said, is there anything with DHS that involves transportation of children? Well, she said, oh my gosh, yes, and we could sure use some help with that, because there's lots of times that we have to get, the child from here, to have a meeting that they try to have 2 mandated meetings with these families. They're trying to get them back together, all the things that are going on. A lot of times these people need transportation. She said, boy, if First Christian Church could be the church that helps us with transportation, that'd be fantastic. And she said, if people from the church get background checks, then we'll pay them mileage to do it too. And then so I had her to my class last Wednesday night with the Wednesday night fellowship class, and first in the class said, how can we develop relationships with these people? And Cindy said, well, let's say you're taking a parent and you're taking them up to DHS. First of all, they will like riding with you a lot better than they like riding with me, because DHS, we're the bad guys, So riding with DHS to an appointment with your kid is kind of like riding with the police. So if they just had a regular person taking them, they would love that. They would pick you all over me anytime. And when you're driving along with them, she said you could get to know them, you could visit with them a little bit, and you could say, hey, we've got a service, we've got a thing on Saturday night at 6 o'clock. We've got free warm drinks, coffee, or whatever warm drink that you want. And we sing worship songs and stuff. You might want to join us, or you might just get to know them. That's how. So you sort of imagine. You can see how you could imagine something like that. Now I don't know if that's going to be our future. I don't know if how this is exactly all going to work out. But what we're doing is we're in the process of just imagining and dreaming. And this next Wednesday night, I'm going to have Bill Knight come to my class at 6:15 in my Western City Sunday School classroom. Bill Knight was the one who does House of Hope. Well, a lot of the people at House of Hope, when they get down on their luck and they need to start working again, they want to start working, but guess what they don't have? They don't have transportation. Now they've got a relationship with Tyson over in Green Forest, and they can now carpool people over to Tyson and Green Forest so they can start working. But before they can do that, they have to go through a 1-week orientation at Tyson and Green Forest, and so they need or they have an opportunity, I guess you could say, for churches to, or for anybody that has a van, to take these people over for transportation. See how this transportation thing keeps coming up over and over? So I don't know what will end up happening, but I do believe that something is going to happen, because I think the church is dreaming, the church is trying. As a matter of fact, you would think that they would come, like a group like that would come to the church. They would help you to identify what some needs are in the community, and then help you drill down to what you think your church could respond to. And then they would say, all right, go for it. But that's not what they do. They say there's one more assignment that you have to do. You have to write a future story. You have to dream a dream. And you have to sit down with a group of you, and you have to dream about what your church is going to be like 5 years from now. And then, it might not be what that dream is, might not be exactly what ends up happening. But if you're not dreaming at all, if you don't have anything that you're shooting for, that's an indication that something's wrong. So let me close like this. Spiritually speaking, it's hard for us to dream about our church winning the World Series, you might say. It sounds like too big a dream. It seems too daunting. But if we don't dream, we won't grow. Maybe our dreams won't turn out exactly like they think we will. But if we don't dream at all, then our hearts will become hard, and the loaf will just be a loaf. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we have to keep on dreaming. We have to keep on believing. We have to look to your example of walking on the water and not be terrified, but rather be inspired by everything that is possible with faith. And so help us not be discouraged in our personal lives. Help us to dream big dreams in our individual lives, and help our church also to dream a big dream, and to be inspired by the possibilities that there are with faith. We make these prayers, Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, if anybody, would like to join with the church today, after we're going to have a closing circle. At that time, I'll ask if anybody wants to unite with the church. Until that time, we're going to invite our elder to come forward, John Marseille, and